My name is Hollis Roberts, and I'm a program manager with Magic. And I am here today with one of our amazing mentee mentor pairs, Eve and Heidi. Eve, will you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Eve. I'm a junior at Ethical Culture Fieldston School, which is in the Bronx in New York City. Um, yeah,
And Heidi, introduce yourself, please.
Hello, I'm Heidi. I'm in Larimer County, Colorado. So we had a long distance relationship, but I've been Eve's mentor.
And Eve, will you share about your project, please?
yeah. So my project focused on the intersection between environmental advocacy and environmental science. And so I started out with doing a lot of research surrounding air quality in New York City and specifically Harlem and the factors that affected it and how they affected it. And then going from there, I tried to connect this to advocacy. So I found a bill that could advocate for air quality in New York City and make the lives of New Yorkers better. But this bill was stalled for a really long time. So I ended up forming a coalition of students at my school to advocate for it. And then I met with two different organizations. One of them is called Brooklyn 350, and one of them is called, oh my gosh, the Bronx. One of them is run by Leslie Vasquez, and it comes out of the Bronx, and I forget the name of it right now, but they both guided my work. And then I did a lot of research on the Environmental Protection Act in New York City, which is an act that kind of set unrealistic standards for New York. And I did a little bit of research on the science of like why they were unrealistic.
Wonderful. So we have quite a few mentees that get interested in the intersection between policy and science. So I'm curious, from a STEM standpoint, what did you learn about the importance of understanding the principles of environmental science in order to guide policy?
Yeah, I mean, I think I learned a lot about like the air quality impact. I think that's the biggest like factor in New York City right now is just how poor the air quality is. And it's really interesting how like to me it's really interesting how like the air quality index can be so different when you're just like 2, 3 miles away from somewhere. Like how the vast kind of difference in just such a short area. That's something that like I was just really shocked by because like it's hard to imagine like one neighborhood could be like a 40-minute walk and yet have such a vastly different like health impacts, like and all of the health implications that go with that, like the disproportionate amount of like, lung diseases and asthma and all those things. And then I was also just really shocked by the disconnect between the policy makers and like the actual science. Because like the science behind what they're doing, if they understood it, they wouldn't be signing it because it's not realistic. But yet, like they don't really know what they're signing. So they just kind of are saying yes based on like all these other factors. So that really like that disconnect is really interesting to me.
That is interesting. Um, so tell us a bit, your passion is very clear for this topic, and I'm curious what it was like working with a mentor throughout your project.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked working with a mentor because it gave me like kind of a path to follow. Like I feel like it really helped like knowing what the next step was. And Heidi has so much experience with like advocacy specifically. So like she knew like all these different cases that she could tell me about. I would be like, oh my gosh, like the language in this bill is so convoluted. And she's like, oh my gosh, Colorado just passed a bill to like make the language like less convoluted in their like state, like whatever. So she could like kind of tell me all these stories from her line of work that's kind of crazy to me because it's like what I'm really interested in is actually a job, which is really cool. And then also like just like whenever like I was stalled, like she would have like a kind of next step. So it's like, oh, it's not working to message the senators, so maybe try, going to like that Congress or like whatever the other district representatives are. Like kind of she always knew another route I could take when I was stuck, which was really helpful because I feel like when you do a project on your own, sometimes you get stuck and it's like, well, now I don't know where to go.
That's wonderful. That is a benefit of having a mentor for sure. And Heidi, what was it like working with Eve, and what are some of the strengths you saw in her throughout your time together?
Yeah, it was fantastic working with Eve. It's really interesting when you work day to day in a job that you had for decades and you've forgotten what you learned in school and how it is that really what is taught in school evolves over time. And so the amount of information that Eve even had coming into this mentorship was quite astonishing to me, quite amazing. My own children are grown in college, and so it's been, even in those last couple of years, you can see this difference in the education system, which is fantastic, and the passion, the passion that Eve has going into this project, always optimistic, always curious, always trying something new, always figuring out technology that I couldn't figure out. Yep, Eve was on it. So it was a great experience.
Oh, wonderful. And I'll ask a similar final question to you both. Eve, if somebody was interested in joining Magic, what would you share with them, both the amazing parts and anything to know going into the experience?
Yeah, I mean, actually, one of my friends, Caitlin, she's applying from Fieldston right now. So, like, I was just talking about her, like, about my magic experience. And I was like, I mean, kind of what I said was like, you have all these ideas going in, and you have no idea what will come out. But I think that everyone is always satisfied with their what comes out. Like this, I didn't go down the route I expected. It kind of just became. And that's similar to Lila, that's similar to Saskia, kind of all the fields and students. But that whatever your end product is, whatever you learn from the experience, like I really do think you do take something. Like, and I think that looks different for everyone, but I think that like no one goes through magic and didn't like learn something or like grow from it or like take a kind of new meaning, new understanding from the program.
Oh, amazing. And Heidi, similar question. If somebody was interested in mentoring, what would you share about the experience, both the great parts and any upfront things you'd want to share?
Sure. Well, I have a similar reaction that Eve did, in that I'm constantly sharing how enriching the mentoring process is, and how the magic process overall is nice to connect even outside of your own community with that has different issues maybe than what you are working on and experiencing day to day. So the curiosity that is brought by having this mentee mentor relationship, and the experiences will enrich not only the mentee's work, but what you are doing as a mentor in your day to day. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Oh, I love that. Well, thank you again for your time. Congratulations to you both on a wonderful, wonderful project. And Eve, I can't wait to see what you do with all your newfound knowledge. Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you.
Me too.